Let's forget Liverpool winning their first Premier League title and their first title in 30 years for just 1 minute, because it's Friday today, which means it's time to predict the second batch of Championship games after lockdown. Just a little disclaimer before I move on. Unfortunately, I cannot compare FIFA's gameplay today because the gameplay I did take was corrupted and I sadly cannot fix it in time. However, I'm almost glad I've not watched it because it was boring once again. There was 10 1-0 victories. There was a severe lack in variety, so I won't include FIFA's results in terms of predicting the games today. It is Matchday 39 and we've got some really key games this weekend that could really be a deciding factor on who gets promoted and who's in the playoffs. We've also got the return of Neil Warnock, yay, to the Championship to save Middlesbrough for 8 games to avoid relegation, which I'm pretty sure he can do. It's going to be interesting to see the old grizzled man return. In the second half of this video, I'm also going to predict the FA Cup quarter-final fixtures, and I'm also going to predict the 2 Premier League games that are happening this weekend as well. Speaking of the Premier League, I do have to say, well done Liverpool for winning their first title. You have thoroughly deserved it throughout the whole season. One of the most consistent teams I've ever seen in my generation. But also as a Chelsea fan, you're welcome. So I saw a Chelsea team full of grit to beat Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. So you're welcome from a Chelsea fan. Going back to the video, I'm going to include your comment on the screen if you got a Premier League fixture correctly. 2 if you did, well done Dark Knight 13 and Joshua Frood. A special shout out to Joshua Frood. You got 3 correct predictions. That rarely happens on the channel. I think it's only happened once since I made this channel. And following from that, you are now in pole position of Alexa's Hall of Fame. This is the new design of Alexa's Hall of Fame. I absolutely love it. I actually think it looks really, really clean. I only got 1 correct prediction, which was the correct aggregate score of Exeter versus Colchester, unfortunately. But moving on from that, at least Colchester could get 6 easy points against another team from Essex next season. I won't say their names. But if you guys liked what you see, want to see more Championship content and you want to see more of me, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. It really does help. We hit 12 likes in the last score predictions video. Let's go for at least 10 in this one. That would be really, really appreciative. If you're new around the channel, welcome to the channel. And if you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. We're on 141 subscribers at now. We are 9 subscribers away from the big goal of 150 subscribers. If you could do that, it would really make my day. It really does help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these Championship games. So the first game this weekend is Brentford versus West Brom. I think this is going to be a really, really close game. Obviously, it is 4th versus 2nd place. One of the key games this weekend, which could be a deciding factor on who's getting promoted. If West Brom want to be promoted, I think they do need to win this game. Brentford will be starting to breathe down their necks if they can get something against West Brom. They showed very encouraging signs against another promotion-chasing rival in Fulham in the West London derby. They had a very convincing 2-0 away victory, even though they weren't in the game for a lot of it. They were very clinical, and the contribution of Emiliano Marcondes ultimately made the difference, and great tactical play by Thomas Frank there. As with West Brom, they were quite poor against Birmingham. They didn't really test Birmingham or league camp at all, but I think the more games go on, I think the more that West Brom will find their rhythm and get back to their best. For me, West Brom probably have the most complete squad in the league. They've lost the less games this season. I think they can just keep their goal scoring up. I think West Brom will be absolutely fine and get promoted with such ease. West Brom fans, let me know of your reaction of Nathan Ferguson wanting to join Crystal Palace. It looks like it's almost confirmed. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. I think Brentford are going to be full of energy and full of confidence following that Fulham performance. West Brom are on a little bit of a goal drought right now. They've not scored in their last 3 games. However, I think that's going to end in this game. I think it could be cagey, but I think both sides are really going to go for each other. It could be a fantastic game, and it's the live game tonight on Sky Sports. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I can't really separate the 2 sides. FIFA would have predicted a 1-0 home victory to Brentford. It'll be interesting. I'm really interested to see what will happen in this game. Next game is Charlton going up against Queen's Park Rangers. One of a few early kickoffs on the Saturday. And this is another London-based derby. Charlton had a fantastic performance against Hull City, beating them by 1-0, beating their relegation rivals and pulling themselves a bit away from the relegation pack, although I don't think they're safe yet. A defeat against Queen's Park Rangers, they'll be brought right back in it. As with Queen's Park Rangers, they had a pretty shocking defeat against Barnsley, probably one of the shocks of last weekend. They were really, really poor against Barnsley. They did have chances, but they didn't really look clinical and confident going forward and looked very rusty after the restart started. It's a pretty tight record head-to-head. Not much separates the sides in terms of head-to-head, but what I have seen in terms of their recent games, 13 goals have gone on in their last 3 games. So This game almost guarantees goals. So I'm hoping at least to see 2 or 3 goals in this game, what I've actually predicted. I think this is going to be really, really tight, but following that, there was a substantial increase in away wins than home wins. I'm going to start backing a few away teams to get something. I'm going to say Queen's Park Rangers get a 2-1 away victory. I think they're capable of it with the firepower they have up front. FIFA would have predicted a 0-0 draw for this game, which I completely don't agree at all. Let me know what you think. So next game is Preston versus Cardiff. This is the second game, which I think could be a really deciding factor on the promotion race. Although this one's more suited to the playoffs. It is 6th versus 7th. Whoever wins this game, or if any side wins this game, they'll be the side in the playoffs after this weekend. Preston against Luton, I think they were quite good against Luton, but they just did not take their chances, which is what ultimately let them down. They could have scored 2 or 3 more. Sean Maguire had a couple of good chances, but he's shown his lack of confidence that he was shown near the tail end of before the lockdown took place. As for Cardiff, they've looked so good lately. I think about their performance against Reading and their performance against Barnsley and now their performance against Leeds. They look so good, Cardiff, and they could be the real deal. They could really push for the playoff places. Under Neil Harris, I think they've actually got a great philosophy in place. However, having said that, Cardiff have a really poor record against Preston. And in the reverse fixture, Preston were really good and were unlucky not to get all 3 points against Cardiff. Cardiff really did not test Preston at all. I think this will be really tight. I really can't separate the sides. I was thinking Preston to get a 2-1 victory, but I'm actually changing my mind and following the good confidence that Cardiff are going to have, and maybe Preston probably not scoring many goals and having a bit of a drought in goal scoring. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I think I can't really separate the sides, so FIFA would have predicted a 1-0 away victory to Cardiff, which would have been huge, but I think realistically all teams around that area are going to drop points, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. It should be a good game. Next up is Swansea versus Luton, another early kickoff on a Saturday. Swansea against Middlesbrough were absolutely terrific, although Middlesbrough were really poor, but Swansea were absolutely terrific. Ryan Brewster, Andre Ayew, Burson Salina, Conor Gallagher, all of them looked really good and up for it and looked very refreshed from the lockdown actually, and one of the few teams that really looked like they've improved since the lockdown, which is quite substantial. As with Luton Town, they actually did well to get something out. Preston, I think they were dominated for pretty much 2/3 of the game. I think the water break really did help them grow in confidence in the second half, and then eventually they got their momentum, and Callum McManaman scoring an absolute strike. It was a goal of the weekend last weekend. It was absolutely unstoppable. I think Luton will have a bit of confidence. I think under Nathan Jones there is more of a feel-good factor, that they like playing under his philosophy. As with Swansea, it's yet to see what they're going to be like at home. Obviously, they had a great away performance, but following the increase of away performances, maybe it might not be so convincing for Swansea doing the same thing in the Liberty. I don't know what to say. Swansea narrowly beat Luton last time by 1-0 when they played against them in Kenilworth Road. I'm really tempted for an upset, and in fact I'm going to go for it. We had an upset last week with Barnsley getting a 1-0 away victory, so I'm actually going to predict this is the upset. I'm going to say Luton get a 1-0 away victory. I don't know why, I've just got an instinct that Luton are going to pull off something, so I'll say a 1-0 away victory to Luton. Let me know what you think. So next up is Barnsley versus Millwall. This one kicks off at 1 o'clock. We've got a lot of early games before we get to the 3 o'clock games. Barnsley were really good against Queen's Park Rangers, and I think could have scored more if they actually took some of their chances. As with Millwall, they were pretty good against Derby, although Derby really outclassed them in terms of the football they played, the possession. Millwall just sat back and tried to defend it, but they just couldn't. And I think Millwall, if you give them time and space, they can play their game plan really well. But I think Derby have really heavily exposed them. I think away from home, maybe Millwall will be better. I think following that game, Millwall were just a little bit shocked about the lack of atmosphere in the Den, because the Den is known for its incredible atmosphere. So maybe once they get used to that, Millwall could be back at their best. As with Barnsley, we're going to see in this game how important their home fans could be, and Barnsley could struggle without them. However, having said that, I think they do have a bit of fight with them. I think what I saw against Queen's Park Rangers was Barnsley fighting for their lives to avoid relegation, and I think they can do that. This is going to be the third 1-1 draw already, but I think I have to go with it. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I don't think many teams are going to score. I probably would have said 2-2 if I was more confident of these teams scoring, but still, it's pretty new in terms of the restart. I think the more games they play, the more momentum the teams will get back, and the more goals they'll start scoring. So I don't think it'll be really high scoring as of yet, but I think it will be soon. I'll say a 1-1 draw. FIFA would have predicted a Millwall away victory, which would have been big for them as well. Next up, we got Derby going up against Reading. Derby probably one of the best performances of last week. beating Millwall by 3-2, following their great momentum, the great manager they have, and the squad as well. They did really well. Louis Sibley being the hero. Wayne Rooney with a very pivotal role as well. As with Reading, I think they had a pretty good performance against Stoke. I think they will be disappointed how they threw away all 3 points, with Nick Powell equalising in stoppage time. Following that, I think Reading will try and assure up their defence and try and step up and get an away win. But as with Derby, something really struck to me when I saw their performance. There was an energy, a little bit of enthusiasm, commitment, passion when I saw Derby play, and I think we could see a little bit of that. I think Derby have gone into the mindset that they're determined to get into the playoffs, and if they keep winning, they'll get there eventually. I'm actually going to predict Derby for this game. I'm really liking their squad at the moment. I'm going to say a 2-1 home victory to Derby. FIFA would have predicted a 1-0 away victory to Reading. Completely different results between me and FIFA. It should be a really exciting game to see. Now, Birmingham going up against Hull City. Both of these sides are lacking in confidence and are not in a winning one at the moment. Birmingham and Hull are 2 of the 3 sides of the Championship who have not won in at least 6 games, which is pretty shocking runs of form. Birmingham, I think, were okay against West Brom. I think they just played out for the point. It's going to be interesting to see them, how they're going to cope with an opposition like Hull, who will either fight for their lives or will be low in confidence. As with Hull City, there were encouraging signs I did see against Charlton. They were the better side, I'd say, for most of the game. However, they did concede a set-piece goal, which is what they've really struggled with this season. This could be the ultimate decider of who wins this game. However, I think both of these sides are going to be really lacking in goals. I was thinking of a 0-0 draw, but I'm going to jump on the 1-1 bandwagon once again. I'm saying a 1-1 draw between the 2 sides. People would have predicted a 1-0 away victory for Hull, which would have been vital for their survival. Should be a really tense game, but I do fear it's going to be a bit cagey. Next up is Leeds versus Fulham, the game I'm looking forward to the most this weekend. It is second going up against third. It is giving me flashbacks of when Leeds played against Sheffield United last year. Leeds were in a pretty good position and Sheffield United were the one side below them. And following from this, Sheffield United beat them by 1-0, and then all of a sudden Sheffield United go on an amazing form, Leeds decline in form, and they swap places. This could be a repeat of last season if Fulham can pull something out the bag. However, they did have a pretty poor defeat against Brentford. However, they weren't awful. They did have chances. Bobby Reid should have scored. Mitrovic had a goal disallowed, and Mitrovic also had 2 pretty good shots, which was saved by Brea in the process. As with Leeds, they weren't terrible against Cardiff. However, they conceded 2 goals due to 2 silly mistakes. If Leeds can just not make any mistakes, Leeds can be a very unstoppable side. Patrick Bamford is continuing his goal drought at the moment and just not being in the right place at the right time. I'll be very interested to see what starting 11 Marcelo Bielsa goes with against Fulham. I think Fulham will have a point to prove following that they've not beaten their promotion rivals. Also, Brentford are breathing down their necks. If Fulham drop points and Brentford win, Brentford would overtake Fulham. Brentford could potentially be the new side pushing for promotion. This is so close. I've really gone back and forth with a Leeds win, Fulham win, even a draw. I got a feeling that Leeds will actually step up for this game. I'm going to say a 1-0 home victory to Leeds. I'm getting flashbacks of when they played against West Brom and how important that game was at the time. And they did manage to beat them by 1-0. I think this will be a very similar game plan. And Leeds may not have as much of the ball as they may have as usual, because both of these sides are really possession-based teams. There'll be chances for both of these teams, and it just depends who takes the chances better, and I think that will be the deciding factor on who wins this game. For me, I think Leeds is going to deliver. I'll say a 1-0 victory to Leeds. FIFA predicted a 1-0 victory to Fulham, so this is going to be a really tight game. It could really go either way. I'm really excited for that one. Next up is Wigan against Blackburn. Now, the reverse fixture was really boring last time. It was a 0-0 draw, and it could be a similar pattern happening this time. What I will say, both of these sides have very encouraging results last weekend. Wigan continuing that incredible run of form. I believe it's 3 clean sheets in 5 games now. I think that's a stat, but Wigan are in incredible form right now. They're one of the few teams that have not lost in their last 6 games, which is incredible. As with Blackburn, they had a poor defeat against Derby, but then they immediately recovered, going from behind against Bristol City to beat them by 3-1. Even though they weren't playing too well, they just find a way to get goals. And if you give them space, Blackburn can be very dangerous. However, Wigan right now with their form just look absolutely unstoppable. And once again, it's not like they are playing well either. They just find a way to win. I think Wigan actually may be the favourites following their form, and I'm going to back that. I think Wigan are going to continue their form, could have a really strong end to the season. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Wigan. FIFA would have predicted a 0-0 draw for this game, unsurprisingly. Honestly, with this game, as much as I'm predicting to be a 2-1 victory to Wigan, I can easily see this game as a 0-0 draw as well. I just hope it's not a stalemate. We're now Stoke versus Middlesbrough. Both of these sides having pretty poor results in the weekend. Stoke had to rely on Nick Powell getting a diving header with a last-minute equaliser against Reading. And to be honest, I think they were second best for most of that game, apart from Tyrese Campbell hitting the post. They didn't really have any chances, Stoke. As with Middlesbrough, probably the poorest side after the restart, which resulted in Jonathan Woodgate getting sacked. The fact that the team just completely capitulated against Swansea. I think it was the right decision to get rid of him. And Neil Warnock, he managed to get Rotherham out in this position, and he managed to get Cardiff out from this position as well. He's practically the championship version of Sam Allardyce, let's face it. So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of starting 11 Neil Warnock's going to make. And I think the squad's capable, although what's really been their problem is winning. They've only won 9 games this season. That is the same as Barnsley. It is the joint lowest amount of wins in a season. So Middlesbrough do need to start picking up 3 points ASAP. I'm actually going to say this is a 1-1 draw. I can't really separate each side. I think Middlesbrough will really fight, but I think there will be a low confidence still. And as with Stoke, their quality will give them something. I'll say a 1-1 draw. I'm really excited to see Neil Warnock back. Should be a good game, hopefully. Our penultimate game is Bristol City going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Bristol City were really poor, and they are the other team other than Birmingham and Hull who have not won in their last 6 games. Bristol City are in terrible form at the moment. As for Sheffield Wednesday, they've actually won more games in their last 6 games than Bristol City have, and they are on a terrible decline, not winning 12 of their last 13 games. Following the recent history, Sheffield Wednesday have a really strong record against Bristol City actually. Bristol City have only won once in their last 6 meetings against these sides. I think this is going to be really tight. I think Bristol City could be better at home. However, I cannot back away from the fact that there are a lot more away victories, which is why I'm throwing the odd away victory in now and again. However, I think Bristol City are going to fight, and I think if it was someone a little bit more intimidating for Sheffield Wednesday, I probably would have predicted the away side to get something. But following it Sheffield Wednesday, I think there's going to be a lack of confidence from both sides. Could even see this going 0-0, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm predicting my 6th 1-1 draw this weekend. I have a feeling it's just going to be a 1-1 draw. Bristol City are going to play attacking football. Sheffield Wednesday I think are going to sit back a bit, but I think Sheffield Wednesday will be dangerous down the right hand side, with Jacob Murphy being dangerous. If Connor Wickham was as dangerous as he was against Nottingham Forest, I think Sheffield Wednesday would be great. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. It'll be really close. Final game to predict this weekend is Nottingham Forest versus Huddersfield Town. This is going to be really close, I think. Nottingham Forest had a pretty poor performance against Sheffield Wednesday. Didn't really test them and were second best for most of it. They were poor, just like what Reading were, to concede in the final minute of the game. Especially poor defending towards Connor Wickham, who basically had a free header on goal. As with Huddersfield, they were also poor, losing to Wigan. They didn't really test Wigan, apart from one Emil Smith-Rowe chance. I could see this game being really cagey. Huddersfield actually managed to get the 2-1 home victory in the reverse fixture last time, and Huddersfield have a really strong record against Nottingham Forest, which I don't think will encourage Nottingham Forest's form. If Huddersfield play out and play with most of the possession, I think Nottingham Forest will be fine, but if Nottingham Forest try and dominate the game, I think Huddersfield can get something from this game. Following the pattern of away wins, I'm going to actually say Huddersfield, believe it or not, are going to win. If they play like they did against Wigan, I'm going to really regret that, but I do think there will be a reaction from this team. I think Danny Cowley is going to really work with them. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Huddersfield. Got a few shock results in this weekend, but I think you got to. I think some teams are going to cope with the restart better than others. FIFA has actually predicted that same result as well. Let's see if both FIFA and I are right. Before we conclude the video, on the screen right now is my predictions for the Premier League games and the FA Cup quarterfinals. Aston Villa and Wolves, this is quite a rivalry. This is going to be really tight. I think Wolves will pull through. I think the combination of Traore and Jimenez is just unstoppable at the moment. I'm going to say a 3-1 away victory to Wolves, putting Villa in significant trouble. And finally, Watford versus Southampton. This is a real relegation 6-pointer. Having said that, I think Southampton are quite safe right now. It's Watford that really need the points. They were quite poor against Burnley, although they did have chances. I'm going to say Southampton get a 2-1 away victory. I think they will react following that defeat against Arsenal, where they did dominate for quite a bit of the game and probably should have scored. And now to the FA Cup quarter-final predictions. Norwich versus Man United. Norwich have had quite a few good games in cup competitions this season. You remember in the previous round, they managed to draw with Spurs and beat them on penalties. I'm actually going to think it's going to be the same result, 1-1, but I think Man United will win on penalties. I know penalties has not been a strong suit for Man United this season, but I actually think they'll pull it out of the bag. Sheffield United and Arsenal should be a really close game. In fact, in terms of the Premier League table, they cannot be separated by anything less. This will be tight, this will be cagey, I think. I think Arsenal are going to now perform. I think following that victory, it was really morale boosting. I'm going to say Arsenal get a 1-0 away victory. Leicester and Chelsea. I don't know, following performances you would edge Chelsea, but following the fact that Leicester have had 2 days extra rest than Chelsea had, they could be more energised, and I'm going to actually use that logic and say that Leicester will get a 2-1 home victory. I hope I'm wrong though. And finally, Newcastle Man City. When Manchester City lose, they tend to blow teams away, and I think that is what's going to happen. Following Chelsea beating Manchester City, they'll be determined to try and blow any team they play against now out the water. And I feel sorry for Newcastle. I'm going to say a 4-1 away victory to Manchester City, although it will be absolutely brilliant if history can repeat itself and Newcastle get a 2-2 draw against Manchester City, because it was well deserved at the time. If you guys like what you see and are excited for the Championship returning this weekend, please make sure you do give this video a like. It will be tremendously appreciated. As I said, 10 likes is the target. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help and it does make my day. 150 subscribers is the target, 9 subs away as of today. So if you could do that, it would really make my day. It really does help. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.